Hi Jackie, Susan Lancey here, and just starting my video about the pyramid model and the practices that we've been learning about. It's just been an awesome experience, really been enjoying this class a lot. I'm going to kind of keep looking back and forth because I have my notes over here so that I don't lose track. I want to make sure that I cover everything that you had asked us about in the prompts for this video. Building relationships with children and families, and the structure and design of the environment of our preschool classroom. Our preschool classroom is a full inclusion classroom. We have 2 sessions. They run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we have a morning session that is fully inclusive, and we have the majority of our children with disabilities are in the morning session. So that's always a really different dynamic in that classroom. So the supports that we use between our morning session and our afternoon session tend to be quite different. The ability of the children to be able to engage in different activities between the morning and the afternoon is very different. And so we take all of this into consideration when we are planning our different activities that we're going to do, and when we're going to sort of talk to families about some of the different activities that we're going to do too. We just modify things as needed. One of the things that I think is very important as far as building relationships and the structure of our environment is the transition from home to school. And that's a big transition for kids every day. And I think it's important for us to realize that their home environment is so different, and our preschool environment is very structured. And a lot of kids, this is the first time they've ever experienced that type of structure. So we go down to the lobby. Unfortunately, our families aren't able to come to our classroom because it's quite a walk to our classroom. And so we meet the family in the lobbies at the school, and we greet them, and we have conversations with the families. We have a conversation with the kids. They line up, and then we take them to our classroom. And we have cubbies in the hallway, and they unpack their things, and then we come into the classroom, wash hands, and then do an activity. Early on in the school year, we have the families come right down to the classroom with us and come into the classroom with us. But as the school year progresses, we usually try to curtail that because it does take a lot of time out of our morning, and our morning and afternoon sessions are only about 3 hours. So we have a lot of stuff we're trying to pack in. It would be much better, I think, if parents were allowed to come to the classroom, sign their kids in, get them settled in. But unfortunately, our environment doesn't really allow for that. And we don't have a nice, cozy place for us to, meet and greet families because of the institutional setting that we're in. One of the things that we do is we invite families in to volunteer in the classroom, and I think that makes a huge impact and a huge difference for our kids. One of the things that I do and all of our teachers and staff do is getting to know our kids personally, and building relationships with them through conversations that we have throughout the day, showing an interest in the things that interest them, and learning about their strengths and interests. I think those are really guiding principles for establishing relationships, and things that have been talked about in the pyramid model and conscious discipline, Fitzgerald, and all of the different theories that we have been reading about throughout my coursework here at Champlain College. Things that I would like to improve, as I said, would the environment that the families bring their children into. Rather than just a lobby at school, it'd be so nice to have a nice little receiving area where families could, settle their kids into the classroom, but we don't have that option. Some of the things that I would like to change, though, that could bring the family into the classroom visually is to have a board where children had a picture of their family. And they could talk about that at the beginning of the school year, maybe the picture when it was taken, where they were, what activity they were working on or doing when they were enjoying that. A little bit about their siblings, a little bit about their extended family, if they have a family that is, like a divorced family or a blended family or different cultural things. It would be really nice to learn more about the children that way, and for the children to be able to learn about each other that way as well. So that's something I'd like to integrate into our classroom next year. I'd like to also have a more balanced schedule. It was really enlightening when we looked at our schedule and looked at activities that were child-led versus adult-led or teacher-led, and also active activities versus sedentary or inactive activities. And I found the majority of our activities were teacher-led and not active. So I think that has provided an environment where it's difficult for children to regulate. They can only do small periods of really structured sitting activities at this age, and I think we need to be sensitive to that. You know, as the year progresses, they can do longer periods, but right now, we're later in the school year, and really 15 minutes is a long time for these little guys. And hey, it's a long time for me sometimes too. The way that I build relationships with families is learning about their culture and about their family structure. Sometimes it's through phone calls, sometimes it's through conversations at pick up and drop off. And sometimes it's through home visits. We don't have a lot of time to do home visits, so that's something that we usually do prior to the beginning of the class year. We would be doing that right now. Unfortunately, my co-teacher is leaving, and we have a new teacher coming who's not able to be here. She's coming from out of state. So we're going to have sort of an open house and a registration, and that will be the point that we are able to get to meet the families and get to meet the kids that are coming in for next school year. But I think home visits are a great way to learn about the families. And also inviting the families into our classroom. So having them come in to volunteer or having them come in, we do an Educating Children Outdoors program every week. And we've had parents come in and volunteer, and that's been just wonderful getting to know them and seeing the ways in which they interact with their kids. It has really been a great way to build an understanding of their family dynamics. Some of the ways that I do this with my colleagues is brainstorming. A lot of times, you know, when we've had a difficult day or even when we've had a great day, we just brainstorm about what could have been done better, what we should do better the next day, and what we did great, what went really well that day, things that have been really exciting. We've seen some really incredible learning experiences going on with our kids socially and emotionally this school year. So it's been really fun brainstorming and getting to share those positive experiences as well. Having lunch together is wonderful. We don't have much of a time span for lunch because we're setting up the classroom between the morning session and the afternoon session, but sometimes we just have lunch together, and that's a wonderful experience too. And then because we're in a school and we're in a supervisory union, we have professional development that we do together. So sometimes it's going to a workshop in a different venue, which is really nice. Sometimes we have go to the Burlington Hilton and have lunch together, just really get to brainstorm about how we can use the strategies that we're learning in our classroom, have a time to just take a deep breath ourselves and relax and really get to know each other personally. And so I think doing professional development either in school or in a different environment is always a great way to connect and learn about our colleagues as well. Some of the things that I do to get to know the children and developing relationships with the children that are in our classrooms is, again, learning about their strengths and their interests, and then learning about their home culture and their environment. And if they have siblings in the school, because we're in a school